Hello, my name is Richard Corbett from emergebydesign.net, and welcome to my weekly astrological and human design transit report starting on Monday, June 2nd through Sunday, June 8th. Now, before we take a look at our chart for Monday, which will be the first quarter moon of this lunar cycle, I want to remind us where we started this lunar cycle just a week ago with our new moon in Gemini in gate 16, putting the Earth and its polarity in gate 9. This was indicating we are in the Gemini season. We are changing seasons. We are thinking about Mercury, who was also the ruler of Gemini and conjunct the new moon within a few degrees last week. And we also have Jupiter, the planet of expansion, was also in Gemini as well. So a lot of Gemini energy, indicating themes this lunar cycle of communication, adaptability, versatility. And I think what it's saying is that we're going to get a chance to try some new things, to communicate in new conversations regarding how we've been handling these many months of emotional growth and development and maturity. We still have the nodes in gates 36 and 6, and we're going to have that for a couple of more weeks. And as we take a look at the transits each day this week, I'll show how I think that this Gemini movement that we're going to be seeing and experiencing is giving us an opportunity to listen to our conversations with others. Are we hearing our voice of truth and authenticity? With all these planets passing through Gemini, they are all throat gates, all the way till the very end in gate 15. So we can hear what's coming out as those transits connect with us personally and activate our body graph as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first quarter moon. I'm going to share my screen. And while I do that, I just always want to thank you guys so much for joining me. I love the new subscribes we've got and the like. If you're getting support out of this, I always appreciate the likes and the opportunity to grow our channel here. And I've almost got it here. Take a look at the first quarter moon. I'm going to share my screen. And while I do that, I just always want to thank you guys so much for joining me. I love the new subscribes we've got and the like. If you're getting support out of this, I always appreciate the likes and the opportunity to grow our channel here. And I've almost got it here. And there is our chart for the first quarter moon. Let me get my annotator here, and we can see that we have the sun here at 12 degrees Gemini, has moved into gate 35, line 2 as of Monday, putting the Earth and its polarity in gate 5. Gate 35 is part of the channel of transitoriness up here in the throat center. It's called the gate of progress. This is a very emotional, experiential channel. It's a primary manifesting channel. And the voice of gate 35 is, I feel that I have made progress, or I haven't made progress, or I need a change. But again, it's going to be a great check-in with where we are during this current lunar cycle. And if we look at the astrological wheel, we can see the square here with the moon. Now, the first quarter moon is when we get the two luminaries squaring off in a dynamic square energy. So with a square, we know that there's always this opportunity where something has to give. There's sort of as Dane Rudyard, one of my favorite astrologers, has referred to, a crisis in action, a crisis of action, like we're at the first week of the lunar cycle, and so we may be called upon to address these challenges. Of course, every week I like to remind us that we're talking about following our own personal authority, being deeply connected to our personal voice of truth. So not every opportunity is out there for us, but we love the symbolism of what may be coming at us from these transits. So the moon herself at the first quarter moon is in gate 64, up here in the head pressure center. I've always loved gate 64. Rod named it the gate of confusion. It's part of our abstract circuitry, which is all associated with the cyclical emotional nature of the solar plexus. And it's actually, even though it's called confusion, it's in the sign of Virgo. And Virgo is not very much about confusing or confusion. Virgo is about detail and analysis, being very analytical. And so, what the moon may be saying here is that, yeah, there's a lot to sift through. There's a lot of details to address concerning our emotional growth and development. And while I'm saying that, I just popped in my head, I didn't mention this and I really want to. At that new moon, we had the channel of initiation It has already left the body graph as of this week, but I want to remind us that that was the one channel of the new moon a week ago, was the channel of initiation. So this entire lunar cycle, that's sort of in the frequency. You know, we may be called upon or offered a challenging invitation to move into our sense of higher self. That channel was being brought to us at the new moon by Saturn and Neptune in gate 25 and Venus in gate 51. So I needed to insert that to say that, yeah, that's sort of the flavor of this month. And again, so much of it is tied to that solar plexus energy, as we can see here at the first quarter moon, because we're thinking about the moon in gate 64, part of the abstract circuitry. And if we look at the solar plexus, we have the channel of transitoriness defined as well, because the sun has moved into gate 35 and we still have the north node in gate 36. So when we're again back to this square between the luminaries, you know, where do we see challenges that are forcing us to ground ourselves into our current emotional experience? And at the time of the first quarter moon, we also are seeing in the body graph, we have the channel of rhythm, a design of being in the flow. This is being activated by Jupiter in Gemini in gate 15 and the Earth in Sagittarius in gate 5. So we've got Jupiter and Earth in the channel of rhythm. Now, this channel is going to be activated most of this week, all the way until the chart I show you for Saturday. So this is really one of the bedrocks of the frequency in our body graph for the week. This logical channel is about finding our flow, our rhythm, checking out the extremes of every spectrum, how we eat, how we sleep, when and how we rest. But it really points us, I think, as we've been through such emotional, turbulent months in the rearview mirror, this lunar cycle with all that Gemini energy is guiding us into this sense of, how do I adapt to this new environment and how do I find my flow within that? So very strong theme here at the first quarter moon. I also want to indicate, I'm just going to go back to this Gemini down here and circle this. Just want to show you how we have the sun at 12 degrees, then you have Mercury next to the sun at 17 degrees and Jupiter at 28 degrees. What a lineup here. I mean, it's like Mercury nestled between the life force energy of the sun and the expansive growth and abundance of Jupiter. Such strong Gemini. And so, as I mentioned earlier, just keeping that in mind, that we're thinking flexibility, adaptability, and versatility, finding our flow. What is our rhythm? Honoring boundaries. This may be a call to action at the first quarter moon, how we have to set boundaries to find our flow, our natural life force energy in its, again, rest cycle, eating cycle, work cycle, maintaining this internal harmony. Great contemplation, I think, as we look at the first quarter moon. And not only the sun, the earth, and the moon, all three of those activations are in line 2. This is the line of the natural, the quintessence of their archetypes. And for gate 64 in particular, since I'm looking at the first quarter moon, this line 2 speaks to inner growth and development. Right? That the confusion that we find in all the myriad of details we have to sift through in the external world comes from internal harmony. That's really the message of 64 line 2. And so I think, again, that we're looking at this week with that bedrock of the channel of rhythm is maintaining flow and setting boundaries that support that, all while we're moving through this very emotional channel of transitoriness energy. Okay, let's go ahead and move it into Tuesday. And on Tuesday, the moon is traveling through Virgo and will line up with the south node. Now, as I mentioned a moment ago, we only have the nodes in gate 6 and 36 for a couple more weeks. In fact, I think it's June 13th that they will switch to gates 22 and 47. So this is the last time the moon is going to line up with her own nodal axis. Of course, the nodes, they are the nodes of the moon. And so I think that's what brings extra significance to this particular conjunction. It's the last time that they're going to be in these two gates of friction and crisis. We've been dealing with these nodes and these gates for almost 3 months now. And so, Yeah, we've just, and we had many things I've covered in my transit reports. We had all those planets in Pisces for a long time. We had Mars traveling retrograde in Cancer. And so again, as we look back to where we've been and where we are right now, we have gone through a lot. I know I have personally, and maybe you have too. If you have and want to share something, I love your comments. I read and respond to every one of them. So as I'm sharing each week, I always love to hear some sort of feedback on how this is landing with you guys. But anyway, back to this moon conjunct the nodal axis, it's on the south node. And so it has this emotional pull to our past. What was our family of origin, emotional security or insecurity, and how are we dealing with that now, where we are presently with the transits and the life experiences we've been through? Have we learned how to touch our inner core of serenity and acceptance and finding our own emotional rhythm? Now, of course, that will vary in that process, whether you're defined solar plexus or undefined solar plexus, but we are all living in this emotional frequency together. And so I think, yeah, this is an interesting check-in, since this will be the last time the moon lines up with that nodal axis, and it'll be different by the next time we get a moon conjunct nodal axis. And all of it is pointing back, for me and my vision here, as I look at the chart, it's pointing back to our flow. This is a time with this changing, mutable sign of Gemini to adapt to situations that allow us to find our rhythm and flow that are healthy and self-nourishing for us right now, as we hopefully have moved to this new sense of emotional security or maturity. Is certainly part of the program right now. Okay, let's move into Wednesday. And on Wednesday, looking at the moon as it makes its movement into Libra, a couple of things are going to happen. After that conjunction with the south node, the moon is going to oppose Saturn, and then less than an hour later, it's going to oppose Neptune, and it's also going to trine Pluto. And the moon herself is going to be in gate 46. So gate 46 is in opposition to gate 25, where Saturn and Neptune are. Now, I'll be talking about Saturn and Neptune a lot. This is one of my personal favorite transits I'll be following for the rest of this year. It has profound global implications. I know a lot of astrologers are talking about it from their perspective. As I look at it from a human design perspective, it is so fascinating. Neptune, the planet beyond the bounds of Saturn, its limitlessness. It's the land of dreams, imagination, creativity, illusions, and sometimes delusions, but it really offers this diffuse quality. It often operates on us at such a deep individual level, it often remains unconscious. But nonetheless, it is working on the collective in a big way. But I think we can lean into that Neptunian energy. We can connect with the archetype of Neptune in the gate 25, the gate of the spirit of the higher self. This is the gate where we meet limitations. We can be wounded in this gate 25. The archetype of 25 speaks to this, how we can be initiated and meet our limitation, go through the grief, suffering, and healing process to find our sense of universal love. It's a gate of acceptance. This is a lifelong process. I have found this for myself, but I think it's one of the main messages of this year is accepting, surrendering, right? To use that mantra as a way to adjust our perception of reality in order to see what love sees. With all of the challenges we're facing in the world right now, it's so easy to resist, to project, to point the finger. But all of these transits, as I've been following them, I see them pointing to us inward. This is an inner development arena right now. We are living in some of the most astrologically amazing times since the creation of humankind. I am very excited about it. Yes, it's coming with a tumultuous landscape across the world. We are going through a great mutation. So there are many challenges. There is great suffering, and I am not denying any of that. But I'm saying if you are with me now, you're listening to this, you're looking into your own life, you are going to be able to attain a new sense of your own spiritual warrior. This is so much of what Saturn and Aries represents. Saturn, who is actually in his fall in the sign of Aries. I mean, this is the Aries is the sign ruled by Mars. It's exalting the sun. So we think Sun, Aries energy, Sun, Mars in Aries energy. Saturn is very different. Saturn rules Capricorn. In the seasonal astrology, this is the time of the winter solstice. So Saturn can be a little uncomfortable in this fiery initiative energy. It's impulsive, and Saturn is not impulsive. Saturn is patient. Saturn is restrictive. Saturn says, slow down and see reality for what it is. But the gifts of Saturn are profound. Saturn builds strength, determination, maturity. Saturn's not an easy planet to love, but I always am encouraging myself and others to learn to love Saturn. He does represent our 3D reality. But when we can use experiences we've had in our past that we've grown from. I often think of the hard teacher we didn't really love at the time, or the hard coach if you played sports, that you didn't appreciate it then, but you look at your life now and say, wow, that was such a valuable person and experience in my life back then. I wish I knew that now. But we're learning, right? We're maturing, and that's what Saturn is doing. And he offers a structure, right? Saturn, when we lean into his archetype, he will present opportunities that we can align with these limitations and challenges and build structures that promote growth and maturity. Well, if you take everything I just said and you drop that into gate 25 with Neptune, it's first of all such a dichotomy between limitless imaginations of Neptune and the hard-ass discipline of Saturn, but yet it's in the gate of the spirit of the higher self. This is a spiritual revolutionary aspect that we will be going through all through this year. They're going to turn retrograde later this summer. They go back into Pisces and then back into Aries. But all of this is taking place under the context of gate 25 because it straddles the end of Pisces and the beginning of Aries. So we're going to be, and so now that this is the first dip into Aries, we're sort of getting like a preview of what this may mean for us. And again, it's a long-term conjunction between Saturn and Neptune, and in gate 25, we're going to be experiencing all this all the way through, at least with Saturn, until March of next year. They're both going to step into Aries at 0 degrees in February. So just a lot more to say on that. I just wanted to get it in all of our contemplations right now, really keying into that energy. And here, back to the chart on Wednesday, the moon is going to oppose that energy in gate 46. Gate 46 is called pushing upward. It's the determination of the higher self. It is the archetype of being present to the temple of our body, that being present and engaged with our truth in the moment allows us to move cleanly through these emotional cycles of development. We can look back later after it's over, but we want to stay present while we're in it. So we're going to get a little chance to do that here with this polar opposition between the moon, the emotional pull of wanting to be present, and the Saturn, Neptune, and the 25 over here in Aries saying, go, go, go. You know, tug of wars, we sort of want to find our presence. Presence, what a beautiful word for these times right now. And so, and that moon herself, she's also going to be trining Pluto. So it's indicating that we're going to be able to work with our deep down truths, the ones that are down in the unconscious, bringing that plutonic gems to the surface, these hard-earned, realized truths that we have discovered. Well, that's offered in this chart here with everything else I've just shared about that. And we also have Venus, who haven't mentioned yet in gate 3, sextile Jupiter. Now, Venus sextile Jupiter is always such a juicy transit, right? Venus, love, beauty, harmony, things that we want and desire. Jupiter, the planet of expansion. Very favorable aspect. It's a little challenging simply because Venus has moved into gate 3, right? Gate 3 is the gate of ordering, part of the channel of mutation. Now, accepting the initiation to have mutation is not always an easy process, right? Gate 3 is called the gate of ordering because it's difficult at the beginning of the mutative process. It's the idea of going into the cocoon and dissolving and reemerging as our new self-empowered self. So this is all part of these times, right? This idea of individual mutation. But here with this sextile to Jupiter in gate 15, the gate of love of humanity, of acceptance of everyone in the flow of life, this is all being supported right now, particularly this week. So that's going to be Wednesday. Let's go ahead and move it into Thursday. And on Thursday, the moon's still traveling through Libra, and the moon is going to make her first trine to the sun, right? So we started this week on the square, first quarter moon, and now the moon is in a trine. And so now it's indicating that there might be some flow here. There might be some support. And if we look at the moon, she is in Libra, the diplomatic sign of Venus, in gate 18. Down here in the splenic awareness center. This is called the gate of corrections, indicating we may need to make some corrections to support our emotional authenticity. Again, I'm looking at that channel of rhythm, right? What is our authentic emotional flow, rhythm, and connection? But that trine, very supportive in that chart there. And you can see we've got some other aspects that are very supportive. We've got Mars in gate 4, sextiling Mercury, still in gate 45. Mercury in his home sign, sextile to the high energy, high output of Mars. Now, what I'm seeing here with Mars in gate 4, this is up here in the Ajna Center, the gate of formalization. This is about answers, right? How we form logical conclusions, right? And so now there's energy, I think, with all that Gemini energy and a sextile to Mars, that there's energy in a sense to shift our perception. I mean, perception is reality. And with the deep cathartic processes that have been offered to us by the transits and life experience in our near past, we may have this sense that we have a new vision in life. We may see from a different lens. We may be able to see that, possibly the entire world right now is choreographed on my behalf. So it's not somebody else's fault that what's happening is happening. It's simply happening, but it's asking me to become more of who I am. Whatever that sense of personal inspiration and truth is, I mean, Venus in gate 3, stimulating that format channel of mutation. And I didn't mention Uranus yet. Uranus still, for almost a whole year, we'll have Uranus here. Gate 8, the gate of individual contribution of our personal inspiration. So yeah, that's an interesting, if we can play with our perception, right? To rather than being triggered or reactive, emotionally reactive and caught up in a situation that dysregulates and runs amok, to breathe, to come inward, to center, to find our foundation from an inner stance. Super supportive time period for that type of work right now. And as I mentioned, the moon trining the sun in that gate 35. So it may take some corrections to maintain our flow to find the progress that we are looking for. Again, we're in dynamic change of Gemini right now, but some very supportive aspects. And the last one on Thursday I want to mention is that Mars is also moving into a trine to Chiron, the wounded healer. He is still located in gate 42, line 6, the gate of growth, evolution, in the line 6 of wisdom, role model, and integrity and truth. So, wow, just a lot of energy here for this Gemini cycle of change and development and versatility to shift perception, to adapt according to our own personal authority and truth, to see reality in a new gate 25 sense. From the sense of acceptance, self-love, inner security, not constricted. It's going to be very easy with this energy to go to the other end of the spectrum, which is to close down our heart, to push the world and people away and constrict our loving nature. But as I've been sharing, the other end of that spectrum is to be open-hearted, to accept, surrender. It's a choice, I feel, in that sense, how we view reality with our perception and where we put our attention, because where attention goes, energy flows. And we've got some really beautiful energy here on Thursday to support this type of development. Okay, let's go ahead into Friday. And on Friday, boy, got some more interesting developments showing up here. We've got the moon still traveling through Libra, going to oppose Chiron that I was just speaking about in that gate 42. And so with the moon in opposition to Chiron here, we still may be feeling a sense of wounding or grief or sadness of somehow letting go of these past injustices, right? I mean, whenever we see Chiron involved like this, as he's been moving through this gate 42, he's urging us to heal, to forgive, to release, to let go of these limitations that have created fear, doubt, and insecurity. And all of the transits are urging us on right now. But we might get a little other taste of that moon energy opposing that. The moon being in gate 32, this is the gate of duration and continuity. The moon is bringing an emotional, instinctive quality to know what needs to be let go, right? This is an intuition to support the tribe, and some things should be carried forward in our communities and some things need to be let go. But the moon in this position is asking us, what may we need to let go in order to promote our growth and evolution through the process of the Chironic journey. At that time, the moon is also trining all that energy down there with Mercury and Jupiter. Mercury's in gate 12 on Friday. We'll soon, over the weekend, co-join with Jupiter in gate 15. But particularly on Friday, as I look at that Mercury in gate 12, well, gate 12 is the authentic, individual, meaning very personal, emotional expression. And Mercury's in his home sign, and he's got something to say in an expression gate of our throat center with gate 12, and it's individual expression. It's part of the individual process, which is very mutative, and it moves on that spectrum from uncertainty to certainty, from not knowing to knowing. So it is a bit of a mutative process here, but with Mercury here and all this other energy I've been describing, wow, there's some real opportunity to listen to our story. When we're speaking to our friends, family, coworkers, are we sharing our truth, or are we putting on what I call fake face? Right? Are we just trying to people please and so forth? Well, with all this Gemini energy going on, we're going to get a chance through these conversations to really see if we're connecting with our authenticity. Are we standing resolutely in the truth of my body, in the truth of my frequency, in whatever area of life that we may be living in or working with particular right now? Okay, let's go ahead and we'll look at Saturday. Now here we have the sun in Gemini moving into gate 45 in the throat center, part of our tribal circuit group. This is called the gate of gathering together. And if I draw from the gene keys, gate 45 is the pathway from dominance, tribal leader dominance, to communion. And the pathway is synergy. This is about the communal tribal expression and elevation of everyone in the community. It's about education. It's about sharing. And so that puts the earth opposite the sun in gate 26, which is in the ego center. It's called the gate of the egoist. So we're getting a very strong tribal frequency starting on Saturday, June 7th for the rest of the next week. So I'll be picking this up in my next transit report. And at the time of this chart at noon on Saturday, the moon will be in gate 44 for a chunk of the day. So we're also going to get a tribal channel of surrender, a design of the transmitter. So again, a very strong tribal theme about how are we communing with others? How am I living? Am I currently able to live with this newfound plutonic truth of self-empowerment within my community? Is there still friction there? There may be with that 636 energy going on and everything else that's taking place, but recognizing that we don't have to let altercations run amok, we can always come back to our breath, come back to our center, and recognize that if this is happening out there, it's calling on something inside of me. And I think that's really a great strategy for all of us to maintain that center balance, because we had that channel of rhythm, which is so much about finding our correct pattern of growth and development and emotional security. Okay, so let's take it into the last day here. We'll go into Sunday. And on Sunday, Venus makes a shift from gate 3 into gate 27 in Taurus. Now, Venus, again, that planet of love, beauty, harmony, in gate 27, the gate of nourishment. It's still in the lower trigram as it's in line 1. So much of the lower trigram of the gate of caring is about self-nourishment. We got to take care of ourselves. How can we be of any use to others or the external world if we're suffering on the inside? So really would sink into this, using modalities to connect and appreciate and hug ourselves, hug a tree. This is a beautiful transit with Venus moving through 27 that we can all tune into. We've come off that channel of rhythm, and now we've got this opportunity Venus is giving us to connect with our own sense of self-nourishment. Couple of different stories to mention on these aspects that we're looking at in the astrological wheel. On a super supportive side, we've got Mars moving into a trine with Chiron. Now, again, this can stimulate that wound or grief or whatever that story may be that I had kind of referenced to earlier. But Mars has moved into gate 29 and it's trining gate 42. Well, Mars in gate 29, this is the energy of the god of war. So it's a lot of physical energy in the gate. It's called the gate of saying yes, but every gate has a spectrum. And on the other end of the spectrum, it's also the gate of saying no. And I think this, again, is another really awesome contemplation with Mars in gate 29. Are we saying yes to our boundaries, yes to our self-nourishment, yes to inner emotional and spiritual growth and development? Or are we saying no to that? And again, that's going to have grand implications. This gate is part of the channel of discovery. It's the sanctity of the sacral life force energy saying yes to a new cycle of emotional growth, experience, and discovery. And so with it in a trine to Mars here, I'm sorry, with Mars in this trine from gate 29 to Chiron in 42, are we, how are our yeses and nos relating to our healing and our forgiveness? And I think that's a big question to think about. In my own experience looking back, I know that oftentimes the no's were way more valuable and important than the yeses. And I'm a manifesting generator, so I love to get out there and be busy and take on lots of adventure, Sagittarius rising. But I recognize how invaluable saying no is. When I say no, I'm protecting the sanctity of my personally defined sacral life force energy as a manifesting generator. So I'm just sharing all that, as a contemplation, thinking about our yeses and our nos. They are the seeds of every experience in life. So much of that, again, connects back to following personal authority. But that's a really supportive aspect where Mars is saying, let's move forward. And he's in Leo, this fixed fire sign, and he's energetic. He's saying, let's move forward with this healing process. Yet at the same time, we've got Pluto squaring Venus in 27 and in a square and a half to that Jupiter and Mercury. So this idea of that inner deep truth that Pluto offers, it's a bit frictional right here. I mean, we can imagine, right? Healing from past experiences, trauma, suffering is not an easy process. We have to get real. We have to get authentic. We have to be honest, not only with others, but with ourselves. And I think that's what I'm seeing with Pluto in those hard aspects during this entire Gemini cycle that we're looking at, particularly here on Sunday. It's just checking in there saying, hey, what about your deep hidden truth that we want to access? And we've also got a square that's from Saturn, Neptune in 25 down to that Mercury, Jupiter as well. And that's, again, back to that gate 15. right? Gate 15 is called the gate of extremes, but it's also called, from the G center higher self, universal love, the acceptance of every other person, no matter what their creed, color, religion, whatever. It really speaks, again, kind of circling back to this idea of acceptance. The world is a bit weird right now. And I can tell you, from my perspective, it's only going to get weirder. But we can play in that energy. We can make an adventure out of our life. And I think I'm really encouraging my students I'm working with right now to use the creative writing process, because you are writing your own movie here. Yes, we are in a program. Yes, our souls have incarnated into a very unique individual life force, but yet we are getting to watch it happen. And are we happy about the movie or super mad and angry about the movie? And a lot of the answer to that question is going to come from the internal process that we are going from. What our viewpoint is, our attitude, our perspective, all of those things are malleable. They are quantum in that sense. So very potent soil for imagination, creativity. Again, if everything else is perfect out there, what is that asking of me? Who do I get to be in regards and in relationship to these outer forces? So fascinating times, to say the least. Again, just want to thank you all so much for joining me. I do wish you all a great first quarter moon and a great week, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you so much. Bye for now.